My name is Apostolos Chronopoulos and I am the convener and the main lecturer for the module dedicated to the law of unfair competition. Generally speaking, this body of law aims to regulate the competitive process in order to ensure that it is going to deliver its welfare-enhancing benefits. In that regard, it is obvious that we need to promote competition on the merits and suppress unfair competition. Sometimes it is easy to identify what amounts to unfair competition. For example, making a consumer buying something on the false belief that it is the product of someone else is unlawful because it is tantamount to fraud. However, making this distinction will not always be so straightforward. What are then the criteria for distinguishing between fair and unfair competition? The answer to that question depends on how aggressive we want competition to be. Since different jurisdictions have different policy preferences with regard to this issue, we have different rules among the various jurisdictions. To appreciate the nature and the functions of rules against unfair competition, we will adopt a comparative approach, looking into United States, UK, German, and French unfair competition laws. Among others, we will be discussing issues pertaining to the concepts of consumer confusion, dilution of commercial symbols, advertising law, misappropriation of intangible values created by competitors, as well as issues pertaining to obstructive competition and tortious interference with business relations. We will also look at the unfair competition provisions included in major international treaties such as the Paris Convention and the TRIPS Agreement. The module is taught by myself, a visiting professor who is currently the famous Professor Alexander von Mühlendal, teaching unfair commercial practices in Europe. Classes are a mixture of lecturing and discussions between the participants and the instructor. Participants are encouraged to make short presentations on legal issues arising in their own jurisdiction, given that we have a comparative focus on this module. It is not mandatory, only if you want to. The knowledge you will obtain from the module will help you develop into a legal practitioner in this field, which constitutes a standalone area of practice. This field is huge, and some of its parts, such as advertising law, can even make a field of specialization for you. Being knowledgeable in the field of unfair competition law is something that is very valuable to the intellectual property law lawyer, since unfair competition law is to a large extent the law of unregistered commercial symbols and quite often operates as a supplement for the protection granted to intangible assets by intellectual property law. Those two go together hand in hand in many disputes. At the same time, unfair competition law is relevant to the everyday life of the business lawyer. In fact, some of its applications are very specific to business and commercial law. The modern function of economic torts in the UK, for instance, makes it possible on some occasions for the corporate veil to be lifted or to catch, so to say, defendants for their participation in conspiratory schemes that have caused economic loss. Last but not least, a part of unfair competition law is enforced by administrative authorities that exercise oversight of the marketplace. You could be working for such an organization in the future. So thank you very much indeed for your interest in this module and hopefully see you in class.